In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at that upcoming tropical threat. We're going to be taking a look at the upcoming Arctic blasts, as well as a little bit of storminess, although things will be quiet, actually. We're going to be talking about that as well. Let's just get straight into things, and first things first, we're taking a look at our current radar imagery, and there's not even a whole lot going on. It's really just a lot like yesterday. We have some storminess happening here to the east of the Rockies and down here for the Four Corner States as well. And then we see this area that is the remnants of Ian that is now becoming a nor'easter there, somewhere offshore of the Mid-Atlantic. This is creating major flooding here in the Mid-Atlantic, especially down here in Virginia, actually, where I'm from. They're expecting major flooding. You'd be surprised how much stuff is closed this morning. You can't really do anything. Everything is closed here in Virginia. Very, very interesting. We're going to talk about all of these things, but let's just zoom into some different regions real quickly. We'll start up here in the northernmost region, where there is just some showers, sporadic showers around. What's interesting is we can see it's flowing kind of like this. So we see some of these areas coming in like this, and some of these areas moving in like that. But it is a pretty interesting flow of things that are happening here. And what this basically is there's probably a ridge in here, and there's a trough on both sides. So we're seeing kind of a flow southward on both edges, but this is kind of expanding northward here with warmer air. It's pretty much how I see it. As we move further south towards the Four Corner States, things are kind of interesting down here as well. We have heavier precipitation in some spots, especially here in northern Arizona, where there is some severe thunderstorm warnings and flood warnings coming in at times. Also southern Utah, we're seeing some of that. So definitely worth noting down there. As we move towards the Mid-Atlantic, where we do have these remnants of Ian, we can see a lot of this storminess is heading onshore to these regions. Virginia, as of now, things have not gotten started too much, but it's going to continue to move southward here and create more and more impacts down here for these areas along these coastal regions. Definitely worth noting down there. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move on. We're going to take a look at the upcoming pattern. We'll dive into all of those things, including the storminess, total rainfall, total snowfall, and temperatures. And then we'll deep dive into that tropical disturbance. And if it turns north, we're kind of game on for another storm to be tracking in a pretty similar region, which is going to be really not what we want to see. Now, as we take a look here at the upcoming storminess, let's just continue on towards this afternoon. We can see this storm is really going to start ramping up for some of these regions. This low, what's interesting is it's headed offshore here. It's going to turn back around and actually head onshore. So we'll see that in a little bit. We see plenty of precipitation happening in here, including some snowfall for some spots there in the mountains. Not really unexpected this time of year. And look at that. This nor'easter is getting closer and closer to the coastline as we approach tomorrow afternoon, which will be October 4th here. And we can see plenty of storminess happening here east of the Rockies, down there for the Four Corner States, up there for the Northern Plains. We see plenty of this storminess happening. By Wednesday afternoon, it's evident that an Arctic blast is about to move in. We have this up here. This is going to dive down into the eastern United States, blasting into these regions. We can see here for the Mid-Atlantic and southern New England, we have some storminess here with the remnants of Ian. That will be winding down, and we have a bit of a cold front that wants to get going in here with that storminess that's left over. And by Thursday afternoon, we see this happening. Bit of a cold front here. The Arctic blast is diving into the eastern United States. Major Arctic blast as this violently moves down from the Arctic regions of the world. Moving down into the eastern United States for the most part. We have a massive ridge out west, and then this big old trough in the east here, creating really cold compared to normal temperatures here. It's 50s today here in Virginia. It's 50s tomorrow. Definitely below normal, and we're expected to get back into the low 60s, upper 50s a little bit later on as well, kind of as we approach this weekend. So definitely colder air compared to normal for most folks. Really significantly below normal temperatures, actually. As we approach Saturday, October 8th here, we can see we're still kind of left in this pattern. We have some storminess down here for the Four Corner States, but really quiet for the most part. And I mean, we'll keep moving on, but we see a major snowstorm moving in for the Rockies by the time reaching about Wednesday the 12th. So that moves down about Tuesday the 11th into the 12th, into the 13th here. We're taking a look, but it's coming to an end here at the end of the model run, and we have this major Arctic blast here setting up, and this could move eastward, it appears. Definitely a cold front trying to develop here, and that would lead towards an insane Arctic blast, really, to say the least. Now, total precipitation through the next 10 days as you can see, is very, very marginal. Anywhere in the whites, we're expecting practically no precipitation. Your greens will be 1/10 of an inch to 1/2 an inch of precipitation. Your blues will be 1/2 an inch to an inch. Your yellows will be 1 inch to 2 inches. Your reds will be 2 to 5 inches. And then your browns there will be 5 to 10 inches of precipitation, although we don't really see any of that there for the United States for the most part. So definitely a lot less precipitation expected over the next 10 days than we've seen really since, I would say, the wintertime. The only red regions we see is down there for the 4 corner states, and then over there for portions of the Mid-Atlantic and New England there with the remnants of Ian. Now for total snowfall over the next 10 days, as we can see, this is the most we've seen so far this season. We have plenty of snowfall expected with that major snowstorm that dives down here and creates this big old snowstorm down here. We also see some snowfall for some interesting spots like the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan there. And then we can also see portions of New England seeing some of that snowfall as well. Your grays will be a dusting, if anything. Your blues will be 2 to 6 inches of snowfall. Your purples will be 6 to 10. And then your pinks will be 10 to 20 inches of snowfall there, which we see some of that going on for Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and even South Dakota there. Where plenty of snowfall is expected apparently in the upcoming pattern. Now, as we move on and take a look at this temperature pattern, we can see we're in a deep, deep, deep Arctic blast right now. These greens indicating far below normal temperatures really for a lot of these regions. And here, I mean, let's look at the high temperatures. I mean, really far below normal for a lot of these mid-Atlantic states. About 15 to 25 degrees below normal there in those purplish blues there. Definitely a far, far departure from what's typical. And this cold air just sits around here. We can see all the way by Thursday we still have this cold air. And then here's that next Arctic blast looking to move down. And it does violently blast down. Look at that. Widespread, far below normal temperatures here as this Arctic blast just takes over. It really just dominates the entire pattern, and it's insanely unusual. I can't remember the last time I saw September and October seeing persistent air masses like this. You'd have to go back so many years. I mean, probably 15 years to see a fall like this. It has been highly unusual and unlike anything I've really seen. I mean, really, really crazy stuff. These greens, again, far below normal temperatures, and that's by Saturday, October 8th. Sunday, October 9th, it's a little bit less potent there, and we really see things warm up in the long range, as you can see. But here's that next Arctic blast featuring even further below normal temperatures. And like I said, I mean, this air mass here could move eastward. It appears like a cold front is setting up here, which could advance this Arctic blast into the eastern United States. We need to watch that really, really closely because that has been the trend in this pattern that we've been stuck in for a month or so. Now, what we're going to do is move on and take a quick look here at the 5-day graphical tropical weather outlook. Now, we need to pay attention to these things because, first off, we have this area, which isn't of serious concern for the United States because it is headed northward very early on there in our Atlantic Main Development Region, or MDR for short. There we can see there's a 50% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 70% chance of development over the next 5 days. Definitely worth noting down there. And then we have this orange area here in the Southern Caribbean where we have a 30% chance of development over the next 48 hours and then a 40% chance. Did I say 40%? There's a 30% chance over the next 48 hours and then a 40% chance over the next 5 days here in this orange region. And this is exactly where Ian went. If it can turn northward in here, we're in trouble. But the good thing is models are kind of indicating that this one will continue to head westward straight into Central America, which I know doesn't sound like super good news, but usually this track we don't see major development whatsoever with storms that go down here. So the hope would be that it doesn't even develop into a tropical storm, let alone a hurricane. If it does turn north towards the Gulf, though, this usually is very favorable, and that's when the storms start to get very, very, very strong. So it'd be much less impactful if it was to hit down here rather than the U.S. Gulf Coast, if that makes sense. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe as we do upload daily and go over all of these things. Also, be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it and leave a comment down below with your thoughts. I will see you guys in the next video.